This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we'll be piping open cabbage roses. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We are going to be making some beautiful open style cabbage roses, and we want to make some pretty color to go with them. So we're starting with American style buttercream, and we're going to use 2 liquid gel colors. The first, violet, and the second, some neon bright pink. I've got a little out on my lid over here of each color because I don't really want to make a super dark shade. I just want to make a nice present one so that it reads well and looks pretty. We're going to make kind of a lilac-ish hyacinthy color that's a little more pink than purple. So I just want to give myself some nice dabs of my bright pink and then a couple of my purple. And we're going to mix it around. See where we land, and then maybe add some more color and adjust. And this is one of those flowers that looks really pretty if you have a nice kind of blended color. So I'm going to make some pink, and then I might pull some to the side and make a second shade and then just loosely blend them together before I load them in the bag. So I like where that's going. Just going to bump it up a tiny bit. Beautiful. So we have a nice light pink, but it's very cool tone because it's got that purple in it. I'm just going to take a tiny touch of that and pull it off to one side and add some more color to it. And since there's less buttercream, it should get a little darker a little quicker. And I'm going to blend it all together so I don't really need to worry too much about keeping it all to one side or not mixing stuff together, because ultimately I am going to blend those colors together a little bit. I just want to make sure it's kind of noticeably different from the other shades. So if you need to, add some more in. A little better hold on my bowl. And really, it's just going to give me a kind of marbled effect on my color. So you can see now I've got a nice difference between the 2 shades. I've got a nice kind of bolder streak of color going on in there. I'm just going to keep blending this until it's more thoroughly mixed. You can see the 2 shades next to each other. You can see the difference. It's not huge, it's a little subtle. And I'm just going to take it so that it's all on the same side and just give it a nice kind of loose mix. So think about like folding action, where you just want to kind of fold the 2 colors into each other, and that should make a nice swirl there. So you can kind of see the areas where some of it's lighter and some of it's darker, and that should give us a beautiful effect on our petals. We're actually going to make 2 more colors for this flower. I got a little too excited about how pretty they are, and I forgot about the other colors for everything besides the petals. And we're going to use some Buckeye Brown, Lemon Yellow, and Royal Blue. And we're going to make 2 colors for the center. The first is going to be just a little bit of green. We don't need a lot, just a tiny touch. And we're going to use a little blue, some yellow, and a little touch of that brown. I want to make a nice kind of mossy green, but I don't want it to be too bright or electric. I want it to have just a little bit of that dullness from the brown. We're a little heavy on the yellow right now. I'm just going to add in a little more blue and a little more of that brown. just to take that electric vibe down a notch and move us a little more towards the blue. But you can see that brown gives it that nice kind of earthy feel. And that's going to be beautiful in the center of our flowers. Our next color is going to be just kind of a harvest gold. So we're going to use quite a bit of our yellow. And a nice little healthy dose of our brown. If it comes out looking like a refrigerator from the 1970s, that is exactly what we're going for. A nice kind of like harvest gold appliance color. So this is looking good. Just maybe a little bit more of each. So I just want to kind of repeat that same ratio. You can see it gives you a nice kind of golden color. Just bump up the intensity on it and we will be ready to go. Beautiful. That's going to look great alongside the green that we made and really give us a nice little punch of color there in the centers of our flowers. For this flower, we are going to use 3 disposable decorating bags. We're using 12-inch size. You can use whatever you like, disposable, reusable. Most important thing is we fitted them directly with the tips since we're not going to be changing. For our bag of pink, we are using a number 123. This is a large petal tip, and you can see it's got that nice curved opening. For our green, we're using a number 18 star tip. So you want something that's a little smaller than, say, a 21, but bigger than a 14. And finally, for our golden yellow, we're using a number 2, so a small round tip. Let's review the techniques we're going to use to create this beautiful open style cabbage rose. For our petals, we're using our number 123. And the first thing we're going to do is make some soft arcs, but these are going to be kind of upright ones. So instead of putting the tip flat on the surface, we're going to kind of rock the back end of it up to a pretty severe angle. And you want to think about the fat end kind of like the bottom, and it's sitting on its bottom, and the curved part of it is the back, so it's sitting straight up. So think about making kind of little benches or chairs or whatever helps visualize it. And we're going to just slide along the surface in a nice, soft, curved motion. And you can see that gives us a nice little ridge of frosting that's self-supporting and sticks upright. The second style of petals we're going to do is cupped teardrops, and we're going to play a little bit with the angle of the bag, the back end, how we're holding it, to create more kind of extremely cupped and a little flatter ones. So to start with, we're going to be at 45 degrees bag angle, and the back's going to be kind of up towards 130, and we're going to do just normal teardrops where we pull out, spin, and then pull back. And you can see that gives us a petal that has a little bit of depth to it, right? There's a tiny bit of kind of ridge there and a tiny bit of uprightness. If, when we're doing successive petals, because we're going to make layers of them, we change the angle of the back end of the bag, we can make kind of more of an extreme cup to it. So you can see it's more curved. It's kind of curling over on itself. It's got much more of a cup to it. And that's going to allow us to put layers of these that look like they're unfolding on top of each other. For our centers, we're just going to do a series of spikes. First with our 18, so above the surface, squeeze and let it form a star, and then pull up slowly to create a nice little center. We'll do the same technique with our number 2. We'll be closer to the surface, squeeze and let it form a dot, and then pull up while we're still squeezing. And because we're using two different tips, even though we're using the same technique, we get a different look. Since we've gone over our techniques, let's talk about how we're going to combine them to actually make a flower. So we're going to start with our bag, with our 123. We're going to be doing those upright soft arcs, and you want to be around the outside edge of your flower nail. Think we're going to work in on this one. So we're going to start on the outside, pipe a ring. We're going to start each petal so that it overlaps behind the one before. So think about making a nice soft trailing arc and then backtracking just a little bit to start the next one. This is going to give them a nice overlapping and interlocking feel that's also going to help make your flower more stable. Once we get all the way around with that first ring, we're going to pull ourselves inside, start offset between two petals, and do a second ring. And this is just going to give us a nice little layered effect, but it's also going to make that outside ring of petals a little sturdier since it'll be double layer. The only thing we're going to do for our third step is change how we're holding the bag. We're going to go from doing these nice upright soft arcs on the outside edge to doing our cupped petals. And this is one where we want the back of the bag towards 130 because we want them to be larger, a little bit flatter, still with that little bit of cupping on the edge, but not too extreme or severe because we want to be able to pipe more petals on top of it. So we're going to do kind of that nice stick figure man where we do 5 petals. So start out doing 5, we're going to pull them up onto those ridges we made with our upright petals. So start in the center, pull up on top of those, and go back and do 5 of them. Make sure you've got them relatively equally spaced. You don't want them too far apart, and it's totally okay if you leave a little bit of a void in the center. Then we're going to go back on top of these petals and we're going to pipe smaller, more cupped petals on top of them. And the goal is to do 2. So if we started at 130 with the bag for the first one, think about pulling it towards 3 for the second one, and then 430 for the last one. That'll give you a more like increased depth to those petals. It'll allow you to make them a little more cupped, and then kind of the most extreme version of a cupped petal you want to do on the inside. So it's going to make it look like they're unfurling in these groupings of petals to the flat ones on the outside edge. So you just want to repeat that process for each set. And this should give us a nice flower that's kind of like tight and densely packed, but there should be a tiny bit of room in the center. And that's where we want to go in with our 18, do a nice little spike with that star tip first, and then go all the way around it with our 2 and do as many of those nice kind of long hairy spikes with that golden color just to give us a little bit of color and interest there in the center. We're going to get started piping. I've got my 3-inch flower nail. I've fixed it with a little piece of parchment paper to cover the top with just a little bit of my buttercream. And I've got my bag with my 123 ready to go. And I'm going to hold it at 45 degrees. I'm going to be towards the outside edge of the nail, so you can see the outside edge right there. And I'm just going to anchor the bottom of the tip right there and make sure that that skinny end is pointed up. So remember, like little benches. And we're just going to start piping some nice soft arcs. And I want to start each one behind the one before. And this is going to connect them, make them sturdier, and help them stand up. And you just want to do as many as it takes to get all the way around. And don't be afraid to trail off at the end a little bit. And just connect behind the first one. So you can see now I have a big open ring. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now we're going to do a second ring inside. So same thing, just make sure you start in between 2 petals and make a nice soft arc. And just as many as it takes to go all the way around. And just kind of connect them together. It's okay to push back on those first petals you did. Now we're gonna go to our cupped petals. We wanna make 5 of them. Think a little kind of stick figure, so head, arms, and legs. And I'm just gonna start between 2 petals, so on my second row. Back of the bag is at 130, I'm at 45 degrees, and we wanna pipe up the ridge, spin, and then pull back. And we just wanna be a little bit away from the center so we leave room for our stamens in the middle. So get it started, pull up, spin, and then come back. And it's okay if they're nice and fat. They can overlap a little bit. You want them to really take up this area in the middle and really fill up those spaces and really connect the work that you've already done together. So pull them up the sides and then back down. Each one start a little bit away from the center, and that should give you a nice open feel to these. They're just kind of slightly cupped on those outside edges. Gorgeous. And you can see there's really not much space in between, and where there is, our little outside petals are there. And it may knock those outside petals just a little flatter, but that's perfectly fine. It's going to give us a beautiful open look. We're going to now do the second and third petals on top of each of these. I find it easier to do them in pairs and just work on one at a time, but if you want to, you can work in rounds. For this, though, the only thing we're really going to change is the back end of the bag. So I'm going to start at 3 o'clock, go almost all the way up to the top, so just a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to come at 4:30, so towards my right shoulder, and go even smaller. And you can see that makes a nice graduated look that looks like it's unfurling. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that all the way around and just go in any way you need to make that happen. Sometimes you kind of have to start like a little bit of a half petal if they're really close together. So just all the way up, just leaving a little bit of the one underneath showing. 3 o'clock for the first one, sorry, the second one, and then 4:30 for that third. And just spin your nail to help you get them on there. Gorgeous. To make our centers, we're going to start with our bag of green with our number 18 tip. We're going to go right down into the center there. You should have a nice little void. You can see we've got a nice little area down in there that we just need to fill in with something to finish it off. So build up that star and pull yourself a nice spike. To finish it off, we're going to use our number 2 with our golden, yellow, or harvest gold, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to start around the base of our green spike and just pull some nice long yellow ones. And you can make them kind of wild and frilly and really kind of come up and over. Just kind of pull them all directions, some out towards the petals, some in towards that little green spike, and that should give us a nice natural and kind of wild look. And you can even go a little bit out towards those cupped petals. Typically 1 or 2 rounds is enough, and you just want to leave that green peeking out, and that gives us a nice full center. It's going to help connect everything together and make a nice stable flower, and it also gives us a little bit of color and interest down in there to really help set off all that pink. That's all for this lesson on our open style cabbage roses. We hope you enjoyed this one, and it's a bit of a challenge, so if you're not too advanced in your piping skills yet, try one of our easier lessons, like maybe our daisy or our basic rose. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecorating.school.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.